Listen to a conversation between a student and a university advisor. The student is trying to decide where to go to school next year.
Now then, Mr. Vikstad, how can I help you?
Well, I'm thinking about transferring, but I'm not sure. I was hoping you could help me make a decision.
I'll try. Where are you thinking of transferring to, and why do you want to leave Cryptus U?
I'm thinking of going to Central University because it's in my hometown. I've been kind of homesick this year, and I haven't made many friends. I just feel so lonely. So I thought that maybe it'd be better to be closer to my parents and friends and all.
I see. And would you keep the same major if you transferred? What is it, business administration?
Yeah, I would. The credits I've earned here will transfer to Central. I've already checked.
May I ask why you chose to come to Cryptus University in the first place?
Sure. Well, the main reason is you have a great business school, and the second reason is that I wanted to get away from home.
You're right, Mr. Vikstad. We do have an excellent business school, but so does Central. The thing is, you've got almost a year under your belt here now. At Central, you'll be starting from scratch.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm a little bit familiar with Central because I had older friends who went there, and I visited it before I came here.
You know, freshman year is usually the hardest. I remember how homesick I was my first year. I'll tell you, I was ready to pack it in after the first 2 weeks. But the longer I stayed, the more comfortable I felt. By senior year, I was glad I chose to stay.
Really? Did it get a lot better your sophomore year?
Yes, it did. You might well find the same is true for you. Also, even though your credits here will transfer, you will have to take extra courses because Central has different requirements. You'll probably have to go to school for an extra year.
I hadn't thought about that. I'll have to check into it. Maybe I should give it one more year. I mean, it's probably good for me to learn to live away from my family and friends, right? It'll make me stronger in the future.
You can always move back there after you graduate. Of course, by that time, you may not want to.
Thank you for all your help. I guess I'll find out the exact transfer requirements. You've given me a lot to think about.
Don't mention it. If you feel like you want to talk more, don't hesitate to come back and see me.
Listen to part of a lecture in biology class. You've been reading about animal behavior. Today we'll discuss one of the most astonishing behaviors in the animal world, dancing bees. Did you know that bees can dance? Well, neither did scientists until the 1960s. That's when a German scientist named Karl von Fritsch noticed something truly remarkable. As he was observing honeybees, he noticed that some of the bees, which he called scout bees, flew out of the hive to look for food. When a scout found a site where there was food, it flew back to the beehive and started dancing. This dance somehow told the other honeybees where the food was, because after the dance, some of the bees flew from the hive straight to the site of the food. Von Fritsch called the bees that collect the food forager bees. He thought the scout bees' dance told the forager bees three things. First, the smell of the food it had found. Second, which direction to fly to reach the food. And third, the distance of the food site from the beehive. Von Fritsch won the 1973 Nobel Prize for this discovery, but many scientists were skeptical of his theory. They didn't believe it was the dance that led the forager bees to food. Instead, they thought it might be, the smell of the food in a dancing bee, or maybe that they just followed the scout back to the food site. Well, very recently, some British scientists used a new type of radar to prove that von Fritsch's theory was indeed correct. It is the dance that communicates this information to other bees. British researchers found that the scout bees perform two types of dances. If the food is near the hive, say, about 50 or 60 meters away, the scout flies in a round pattern, like a circle. This tells the location, but not the direction of the food site. If the site is farther away, the scout does what's called a waggle dance. It flies in a pattern of ovals and vertical lines. The speed of the waggle dance tells other bees how far away the food site is. The slower the dance, the farther away the food. If the scout flies in a vertical line up the side of the beehive, it's telling the foragers to fly directly towards the sun. If the scout flies vertically down the hive, it's saying, fly away from the sun. Up is toward, down is away. If the scout flies at an angle to the hive, it's telling the foragers to fly neither toward nor away from the sun, but in between. The bees have a special internal mechanism to know which angle they should fly based on the sun, the hive, and the food site. They can also measure the distance they fly by recording the motion of things they see as they fly past. Now, one problem with von Fitch's theory had been this. It seems to take the forager bees a long time to reach the food site. That's why scientists thought that perhaps it wasn't the waggle dance that led them there. For many years, scientists couldn't follow the foragers after they left the hive because they didn't have the technology. Just a few years ago, though, the British scientists solved this problem using a new type of radar. They were able to attach a small radio transmitter to forager bees. I don't know how, but they did. This enabled them to follow the forager bees' flight after they left the hive. The radar showed that foragers do, in fact, fly straight to the area of the food site. They don't follow the scout bee back to the site because the scout goes into the hive after it finishes dancing. Well then, if the waggle dance does lead the foragers directly to the food site, why does it take so long for them to find the actual food? The answer is that the waggle dance leads the foragers only to the general area of the food. It doesn't tell them the exact location of the flowers or plants that have the food. So the foragers have to spend a while flying around the area before they find the exact location of what they're looking for. Listen to a conversation between two students in their first class of the term. Morning, Myra.
Oh, hi, Arthur. You're taking Ecology 311 too?
Looks like it. It's my only elective this term.
Really? What happened?
Oh, I just took too many my second year, and now I've got to pick up all the required courses I've been ignoring. University's just too much fun, I guess.
Too many parties?
No. Well, yeah, that too. But you know, there's just so many interesting things to learn about, and we've only got 4 years here to explore them. I've been having too good a time at it, that's all. But it has helped me decide my major, finally.
And?
Business ad. I've learned a lot here, and one thing I've learned is that most fields don't hold out a lot of promise for gainful employment, so I'm playing it safe and going for my BA in Business Administration.
So why 311? An ecology course isn't going to help you in your office job at some corporation.
Probably not, but it still seems interesting and important. We all need to know about the environment, no matter what we do for a living.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe you will be able to use it. Maybe you'll end up working for a green company or something.
Could be. There's more and more of those every day.
And thank goodness, poor old Earth.
Is that why you're taking this?
Well, it's not an elective for me. I need 311 for my BS program. We need several cross-field courses to broaden our understanding, and this is one of them. Actually, though, I'm looking forward to this course. Nature's influence on man, man's influence on nature. Sounds like a really useful topic, doesn't it? And Dr. Forsythe is supposed to be a very engaging lecturer.
Well, his website is a gas, at least. He's got a hilarious little eco game on it. Shoot the wolves and see how many deer reproduce and eat all the grass.
I suppose that would teach, 5th graders about the balance of nature.
Hey, it was fun. Anyway, he's also got some good information there. It'll probably come in handy when he gives us homework.
Wow, you're right. I better take a look at it myself. Can you give me his URL?
It's listed right in the course guide where they describe the course. But if you can't find it, I'll give it to you next time. Or I could email it to you. What's your address?
That would be great, thanks. MyraSweetie@umail.com. Here, I'll write it down for you. Did you pick up your textbook yet?
No, I've been looking for a second-hand copy before I spring for a new one. It's expensive. $45.
They all are, aren't they? Why do poor college students have to pay so much for their textbooks? It ain't fair.
It's just economics. Nobody reads them except the students that take the courses. The publishers probably didn't print more than a few hundred copies of our texts, you know.
Still, they could print them in paperback, couldn't they? That would save us some money.
And on newsprint, sure. Some students do keep them, though, for reference after they graduate, if they're working in that field. In that case, they need to be durable. My dad still got his college accounting textbooks, and he uses them all the time.
I suppose you're right. Where are you going to find a used copy? At the bookstore?
They don't have any there now. I checked. I put up some notes on the science building bulletin boards yesterday. Maybe someone there's got one they don't want to keep anymore.
Well, if you hear about 2 of them, will you let me know? I'd like to save a little money, too.
Sure. If I do, I'll buy it for you and you can pay me back. How much are you willing to pay?
Oh, anything under $35 will be fine. A penny saved is a penny earned. But if you haven't found one by next Monday, I'll have to buy a new one then. So email me Sunday night either way, will you?
You bet. Oops, here's Dr. Forsythe now. Listen to part of a lecture in social science class. Today we're going to begin with a short quiz. No, you don't need pencil and paper, just listen. It's only one question. Ready? Okay. What do blogs, Pokemon, tattoos, Cabbage Patch Kids, pet rocks, and hula hoops have in common? Anybody?
They're all stupid.
I know, Professor Morgan. They're all fads.
Correct. Now here's another question. How did you know that? In other words, what are the characteristics of a fad, and what's the difference between a fad and a trend? These are the questions we're going to consider together this afternoon. Well, the main difference, I think, between a fad and a trend concerns time. A fad is something that seems to appear suddenly. It quickly becomes enormously popular, then disappears just as suddenly as it came. A trend also appears rather suddenly, and it also becomes very popular, but it doesn't disappear. A trend can have a long-term influence on its particular market. Fads and trends often resemble each other at first glance, but a fad usually has a definite beginning and end. Pokemon might be a fad, but the idea of fancy playing cards for children might be a trend, for example. Another difference is that fads usually stay within one industry. Trends can cross over into many industries. The hula hoop, for instance, has been called the greatest fad of all time. 25 million. In the late 1950s, 25 million hula hoops were sold in just 4 months. But a year later, sales had virtually stopped. The hula hoop was a toy. It was fun to play with, but that's about all. Now consider cell phones. They were designed to be portable telephones, but they crossed over into the worlds of fashion, wireless communication, and now even photography. People buy cell phones that match the latest clothes fashions. They use cell phones for wireless internet access. They take photos with them. Cell phones have become a trend. Here's the third difference between fads and trends: how well industries accept them. Fads are often promoted by smaller companies. They need the quick money that fads provide. Large companies don't accept fads right away. They can't afford to be wrong. If a company is known as a trendsetter and it promotes a fad, its reputation will be damaged. Large companies buy products in huge numbers. They don't want unsold products sitting on their shelves. So they wait to see if a fad becomes a trend. Then they will accept it in their stores. Now, yes.
How long does a fad have to last before it becomes a trend? I mean, there are all these energy drinks now. There used to be only a couple, but now there's like 100. Are they still a fad? Exercise is a trend, so wouldn't energy drinks be part of the exercise trend?
That's an excellent question. When exactly does a fad become a trend? You know, there are some people who are paid a lot of money to answer that question. If they get it right, companies become rich and famous. If they get it wrong, companies go bankrupt and careers get ruined. The short answer is, nobody knows. Distinguishing between fads and trends is an art, not a science. If it were easy, there would be a lot more rich people in the world. Yes, in the back.
Yeah, can't people get rich from fads too? You said they sold 25 million hula hoops in 4 months. Someone must have made big money off that.
Yes, they did. Toy companies made, $45 million off of hula hoops by the time the fad ended. And maybe some of you have heard of pet rocks in the 1970s. A man bought a rock for a penny, put it in a gift box, and marketed it as a pet. He became an instant millionaire. But the trouble with fads is, no one can predict them. This man had no idea that so many people would buy rocks as pets. He started it as kind of a joke. The Pokemon creators had no clue their cards would become instantly popular all over the world. That's the thing. Fads are mysterious to both their creators and to the public. Listen to a conversation between a professor and his assistant. Good morning, Hannah. Thanks for coming in. How was your holiday?
It was very good, Professor, thanks. A week in the Appalachians is really therapeutic. Nothing to do but eat, sleep, and listen to nature. It's beautiful up there in the spring. The countryside is so green, and the people are so friendly and laid back. A good place to unwind.
I envy you. I've just got too much to get done to get away at all now. I must get this book finished. For one thing, my publisher's getting impatient. I've outlined the last 2 chapters, though, finally, so it won't take me too much longer, I hope. Maybe I'll be able to go somewhere at Christmas. But, what I wanted to talk to you about is our syllabus for this term, Hannah. I know this is short notice, but I'd like to make a couple of little changes to it.
Uh-oh, I know your idea of little changes.
No, I don't think it'll be that bad this time. What I'd like to do is cut lectures 2 and 3, the ones on Old English and Middle English, down to half their length, and then meld them together into a single lecture. Then, with that extra 90 minutes, I want to add a lecture at the end on World Englishes. I think it's time we dealt with that more thoroughly, don't you?
Yes, sir, I certainly do. That's a good idea. So I guess I just need to cut down the quizzes to match and add a new one for World Englishes. Do you know when I'll be able to see your revised OE and ME notes?
I've already done a good bit of that revision, Hannah, and I think I'll have them ready for you before Lecture 1. That's April 8th, I think.
Yes, Tuesday the 8th.
I've taken the segments on pronunciation out. I think we can lose those easily enough. Nobody really needs to recite Beowulf or the Canterbury Tales anymore, no matter how much fun it is.
And that means you probably won't be discussing orthography much either.
I suppose not. I just want to be sure to point out clearly the main ways in which modern English has developed from its predecessors. You know, the great vowel shift and so forth. Saving 90 minutes is not going to commit Old and Middle English to total oblivion after all.
Not if you can help it, certainly. So I can't eliminate the phonetics quiz completely then?
Yes, I think so. I'll still give them a reading so they can get a flavor of their ancestral tongue, but they can get as much of the phonetics as they want out of the textbook. And it's rote learning anyway, really.
Now, what about your new lecture then? Can I get started on any of that?
Yes, that's where I could really use your help in the next couple of weeks. I need you to research pigeons and creoles for me. I've never paid enough attention to them, and I'd like an idea of the number there are, their distribution, and, what linguists are saying about them these days. Are they English dialects, derivative languages? What? See if you can find some interesting examples and some specific quotes, will you?
Yes, of course. I think I know the kind of thing you're looking for. I'll take a look for internet sources this afternoon and then see what the library has later.
Thank you, Hannah. I'd appreciate that. And while you're there, would you see if they've got a copy of Burnley's source book on the history of English? I can't seem to find mine.
Oh, that's because you lent it to me last term, and I haven't returned it yet.
Ah, well, get it back to me sometime soon then, will you? I need to refer to it for my revisions.
Yes, sir, of course. Anything else on the syllabus?
Just that we'll need the student handout revised to reflect the changes. Who was in charge of that last time?
The department secretary has the file. I'll draft a revision, let you check it, and then give it to her, shall I? Shouldn't take long, and we just need to get photocopies before the first class.
All right, I'll leave that in your hands too then, Hannah. Just let me know if you need anything. And I'll see you at the faculty meeting tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, yes, the faculty meeting. Oh, and if you need any anecdotes on Appalachian English dialect, I'm your girl. I've just picked up a wealth of contemporary examples.
I'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Hannah. Listen to part of a lecture from an arts class. Hello again. Ahem. Well, we're near the end of our unit on newspapers. I'm going to talk about our national paper, USA Today. Some of you might recognize it as the topic of this week's reading assignment. USA Today, is now more than 25 years old. When it began, few expected it would last this long. Well, not only has it lasted, it has thrived. USA Today is the largest selling daily newspaper in America. It is also distributed in many countries around the world, but that's only part of the story. The real success of USA Today is the way it changed the newspaper industry. USA Today changed the way papers look. It changed the way reporters write. And it changed the way papers gather and deliver news. USA Today set out to be different. Newspapers at the time were, in trouble. Fewer people were reading them. The papers were full of bad news about crime and killing. They had long stories. They didn't have color photos and graphics. And many could not include the latest sports scores. USA Today changed all that. It had shorter stories, most of which did not jump or continue from one page to another. It used color photos and colorful charts and graphics. It did not have much international news, but it did have lots of sports, entertainment, and human interest stories. It was trying to appeal to younger readers. These readers had been raised watching television, so they had trouble paying attention to longer stories. They wanted to be entertained, not informed. At first, many people laughed at USA Today. Other newspapers called it McPaper. They were comparing it to McDonald's fast food, which isn't very healthy. It fills you up, but it doesn't have much nutrition. They said McPaper was the same way. It looked good, but the news it had wasn't very important. People said USA Today dumbed down the news. Does anyone know what dumbed down means?
Yeah, I think it means to make things too simple. Like you want to make it easy to understand, but you make it too easy. So it's like writing for a little child.
That's exactly right. If you make something too simple, people get mad. They think that the writer thinks they're stupid. But a funny thing happened. More and more people started reading USA Today. About a year after it started, it had a circulation of more than 1 million. Today, its circulation is past 2 million. Question.
Yo, what does circulation mean?
Circulation is the number of papers that are read each day. It means that USA Today distributes more than 2 million copies of each issue. When other papers saw this circulation grow, they became worried. So they started to copy USA Today's style. Their stories got shorter, and they started using lots of color photos and charts. They replaced quote-unquote serious news with feature stories. Soon it became normal for newspapers to look like USA Today. But it wasn't only appearance that made USA Today so popular. One very big reason for its success was timeliness. Timeliness means its ability to report the latest news. Daily newspapers have a deadline, which is the time they have to stop writing and start printing the paper. The deadline often caused papers to leave out news. This was especially true of East Coast papers and West Coast sports scores. Basketball, football, and baseball games would end on the West Coast at 11 p.m., but that's 2 p.m. Eastern Time. This was too late to put the score of the game in the next day's paper. USA Today, however, used satellites to transmit news. It could set later deadlines, so it could include the West Coast scores. This alone caused many people to buy the paper. Yes.
But today, most papers use satellites. So why has USA Today's circulation kept growing?
Excellent question. Actually, USA Today has changed. It still looks colorful, but it's started to become more like traditional papers. Its stories are getting longer, and it has more international news. It changed because people are changing. The paper needed to appeal to more, educated readers because they're the ones with money. Also, it needed to sell more papers overseas. International readers don't want dumbed-down news. Listen to a conversation between a student and a university service representative.
Hi, I want to get a pass for the Intramural Activity Center this quarter, please.
Sure. I need to see your student ID card, please. Okay, thank you. Now, which type of IMA pass would you like to buy?
I don't know. How many different kinds of passes are there?
Well, there's the basic pass. That allows you to use the basketball courts, the fitness center, the racquetball courts, the rock climbing center, and the indoor track. An IMA Super Pass lets you use all those things and also the swimming pools, tennis courts, and golf driving range. Then we have specialized passes for just the swimming pools and the fitness center.
Man, I didn't know this was going to be so complicated. So the basic pass includes basketball, the fitness center, racquetball, and what else?
The rock climbing center and the indoor track. It costs $50 for the quarter.
And the Super Pass has all those things, plus swimming, tennis, and the golf driving range, right?
Yes, that's correct. The Super Pass is $75 for the quarter. It also permits you to use the IMA Center during the 2-week Christmas vacation if you're going to be here.
So the basic pass is $50 for the quarter, and the Super Pass is $75. But the Super Pass, it gives you 2 extra weeks. And you mentioned there were also special passes?
Yes, we have a swim-only pass for $35. This lets you use either one of our 2 swimming pools, plus the sauna and whirlpools in the locker room. There's also a pass for the fitness center only. It costs $40 and gives you access to all the weight machines and fitness machines, as well as the locker room sauna and whirlpools.
All right, let's see if I've got this straight. The swim pass is $35 and the fitness center pass is $40. And both of these include access to the whirlpools and saunas in the locker room?
Correct. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention is that the fitness pass includes a 15% discount on all of our IMA sports and fitness classes.
What kinds of sports and fitness classes do you have?
Oh my, we have several different kinds of dance classes, yoga, aerobics, swim conditioning, taekwondo. Here's a brochure with all the details.
Thanks. So these classes, there's an extra fee for them even if I have a Super Pass?
I'm afraid so because we have to pay the teachers' salaries and the cost of equipment.
Okay, oh yeah. What about someone who isn't a university student? Is there some kind of pass they could buy?
No, I'm afraid not. IMA passes are only offered to registered students and faculty. Guests have to be accompanied by a student or faculty member. They pay $10 each time they come.
Can students pay the same way? I mean, each time they come?
Yes, but if you're going to come very often, it's better to buy a pass. The student price is $5 per visit. If you use the IMA even once a week, you'll save money buying a pass.
Well, thanks for all the information. There are so many choices, I can't make a decision right now. I'll think about it, then come back later in the week.
No problem. We're open Monday through Thursday from 8 to 12, then 1 to 4:30, and from 1 to 5:30 on Friday. If you have any more questions, you can call the phone number on the brochure. Listen to part of a lecture from a marine biology class. You've been reading this month about food chains and food webs. Today we'll discuss these in relation to seafood. How many of you like seafood? Most of you. So do I. In fact, I'm on a seafood diet. I see food, I eat it. Get it? Okay. But seriously, folks, today we're going to talk about trophic relationships in marine food chains and webs. Who can remind us what a trophic relationship is? Yes, Miss Lee.
It's what an organism eats and the things that eat that organism.
Very good. Trophic relationships describe the relationship between producers and consumers, so they help us diagram food chains and food webs. Now, in marine ecosystems, like other ecosystems, food is needed for matter, growth and reproduction, and for energy, metabolic processes within the body. Also, like other ecosystems, marine ecosystems have producers, consumers, and decomposers. The primary producers are autotrophic plankton. Autotrophic means these plankton can synthesize their own food. Autotrophs are consumed by heterotroph organisms. Hetero means other. So in this case, heterotrophic means organisms that can't synthesize their own food. They must rely on autotrophs for food energy. The primary consumers in marine food chains are the plant eaters, herbivores, and the secondary consumers are both the meat eaters, carnivores, and predators that eat both meat and plants, omnivores. The decomposers are heterotrophic bacteria, which get energy from body wastes and dead tissue, thus cycling it back to the producers. A simple marine food chain then might look like this. The top predator, trophic level number 4, is a herring. Herring fish eat level 3, carnivorous zooplankton. The carnivorous zooplankton eat trophic level 2, herbivorous zooplankton, and herbivorous zooplankton eat level number 1. Photoplankton, which is a type of autotroph. In marine food chains, energy transfer is not very efficient. Photoplankton utilize only about 1% of the energy available from the sun. Between 70 and 90% of the energy made by producers or eaten by heterotrophs is used in their bodies or expelled as waste. This leaves only 10 to 30% that is retained in the body's biomass and available for consumers at the next highest trophic level. Thus, the biomass at each trophic level is controlled by the efficiency of the energy transfer. At the lowest trophic level, animals will generally have high biomass, and there will be lots of small producers. At the highest trophic level, animals will generally have low biomass, and there will be only a few large animals. Now, let's expand our simple food chain into a food web. In this web, a herring is no longer a trophic 4 predator. There is a bigger fish, a tuna, that eats the herring. But there's even a bigger animal that eats the tuna, and that is...
Us.
Yes, and there's something else from the seas that will even eat us.
Sharks.
Correct. A food web is more complex than a food chain. And then there are gigantic animals like whale sharks and baleen whales that are herbivores and only eat plankton. But let's focus for a few moments on us. What are the implications of trophic levels for the fish we eat? Well, looking at the fish harvest worldwide, 88% of the fish we catch are fish with fins. 8% are shellfish, and 4% are crustaceans. Fish caught in the open ocean, such as tuna, are high-level predators on an inefficient food chain. Fish caught in coastal waters, such as cod, herring, and haddock, are at the top end of shorter, more efficient food chains. This is because there's a high level of phytoplankton, so consumers expend less energy catching food. These fish, then, provide more energy and better nutrition for us. In upswelling areas off the west coasts of America and Africa, the fish are even healthier. Here they are small, very efficient food chains, and the fish are small, fast-growing, eat lots of phytoplankton, and travel in dense schools. Two examples of such fish are anchovies and sardines. Listen to a conversation in a professor's office between a professor and a student. Good afternoon, Miss Pennington. You were in my American History 201 class, right? How can I help you today?
It's about my term paper. I know it's due next Monday, but I was hoping, I don't think I can get it done by then. Could I please turn it in by the end of next week instead? I have a really good excuse.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I've been teaching 33 years. Do you know how many excuses I've heard? My dog ate my paper. My roommate had a party so I couldn't concentrate. I have 7 papers due in the same day. I went home to see my parents and my car broke down. My favorite was a student who told me she forgot all about her term paper until the day before it was due. It's amazing she remembered to come to class.
I didn't forget, sir. I've been working on the paper, really. Here, I brought my outline and a rough draft. It's, just that, well, a lot of things have been going on in my life, and I'm having trouble managing things.
I see. You know, I assigned that paper 4 weeks ago, and I've been reminding students about it in each class. So tell me your story. What's happening in your life?
First, about 2 weeks ago, my roommate found out her mother is real sick. She has breast cancer. So she's been really upset, and I went home with her for a couple of days to see her mom. That caused me to miss biology lab, and I have a huge biology final coming up on Tuesday that I really need to study for this weekend. Then I got the flu last week and missed a day of class. I tried to work on your paper that day, but I felt really horrible.
Okay, I can understand that. I'm glad that you're helping your roommate through a tough time. That's more important than schoolwork. But all this seems to have happened recently. What about the 2 weeks after I first assigned the term paper?
I guess I didn't use that time very well. I kind of put off getting started on it.
Yes, you did. You know, if I had $1 for every time I heard a student say that.
I'm sorry, Professor Dalton. I've learned my lesson. If I had spent just a little bit of time each week on that paper, I could have had it done on time. I know now that I need to plan for unexpected things.
You seem like a bright, conscientious young lady, Miss... Your first name's Jill, isn't it? When I was a young student, an upperclassman gave me some advice that I've never forgotten. He said, you're going to find yourself with a lot of small gaps during school days, 15 minutes or half an hour. What you do during those gaps will make a big difference in how successful you are.
Wow, that's great advice.
Yeah, I thought so, and I still do. So I'll tell you what, you can turn your paper in no later than 9 a.m. on Friday, right here on my office desk. In exchange for this favor, I want you to pass that advice on to all your friends and dorm mates.
Thank you, Professor Dalton. You bet I will.
As long as you're here, let me take a peek at your outline and rough draft. Do you have any questions about the paper that I can help you with? Listen to part of a lecture from a science class. Many people, including scientists, are confused about the distinction between nuts and seeds. Some dictionaries say a nut is also a seed. Others say a nut is a fruit. And still others say a nut can be both a fruit and a seed. How can an average person tell the difference? Well, in a nutshell, nuts are seeds, but seeds cannot be nuts. Clear as a bell, right? Part of the confusion stems from the fact that seeds and nuts are classified differently for botanical purposes and culinary ones. Botanists, that is, scientists who study plants, define a seed as part of the flowering plant or tree that will grow into a new plant or tree if it's buried in the ground and germinated. In this respect, it's similar to a human egg, which becomes an embryo when fertilized by sperm. Sometimes the plant embryo becomes enclosed in a covering called an integument. integument. The embryo plus its integument therefore constitute a seed. Sunflower seeds are good examples of this. You've got to crack open the black outer part, the integument, to eat the white embryo inside, right? That's why we call them sunflower seeds and not sunflower nuts. However, it's possible for an embryo to have no type of integument at all. As these embryos grow, the tissue surrounding them develops into a fruit. We see this form in many berries as well as tomatoes, and in peanuts and beans. So an embryo or seed doesn't need a covering to be called a fruit. Now, some plants produce a type of fruit called nuts. A nut is a plant fruit containing a single seed, with or without integument, that does not attach itself to the ovary or inside the wall of the nut. Nuts have a dry, tough outer shell that doesn't crack open when the seed becomes mature. Acorns, chestnuts, and walnuts are good examples of nuts. In the botanical sense, a nut is a seed because it's a compound ovary. It contains both the seed and the fruit of the plant. Usually, a plant seed can be separated from its fruit, like when you poke seeds from a watermelon. But with nuts, the part inside the outer shell contains both the seed and the fruit, and these can't be pulled apart. This inside part of the nut, the part inside the outer shell, is called a kernel. The kernel is definitely not a nut. It's a fruit. People often eat the kernel, and when they do this, they say they are eating a nut. For example, I'm eating a pecan, or I'm eating a chestnut. What they should be saying, technically, is I'm eating pecan meat, or I'm eating a chestnut kernel. In the same sense, a peanut typically refers to the entire package of seed/fruit encased in its outer shell, as well as to the edible inner seed/fruit. So while a nut is botanically classified as a seed, it's primarily in the culinary sense that people confuse nuts and seeds. Because a nut in cuisine is more loosely defined than a nut in botany, the term nut gets slapped on many seeds that are not true nuts. Almonds, for example, are mistakenly called nuts, even though they actually are the edible seeds of plants called drupes, as are coconuts and pistachio nuts. Cashews are another example of nuts that are really seeds, along with Brazil nuts, which are seeds that come from capsules. In culinary language, any kernel used in cooking that is found within a shell may be labeled as a nut. One attribute nuts and seeds have in common is that they are both highly nutritious. Nuts are a great source of energy because they have lots of oil and are also an excellent source of protein, fiber, magnesium, and zinc. Additionally, recent studies have also shown they are beneficial for the blood and heart. Many seeds are packed with vitamin E, which is touted for its anti-aging properties. Nuts and seeds are good not only for humans, but also for wildlife. A fact confirmed each fall when animals such as squirrels, chipmunks, and jays can be seen busily storing nuts to avoid starvation in the coming winter cold.